listening to Between Two Bridges, a business-to-business podcast. With your hosts, Anthony R. Destiny, Joe Ferrani, and Jerry Kenna. Interviewing entrepreneurs, business operators, and investors. This episode of Between Two Bridges is sponsored by Paymark Payroll. Payday is the most important day to your most important people, and payday is made easy at www.payyourpeople.com.
Alrighty, gents. 40.
Episode 40.
Who would have thought? 40 episodes.
Bunch of 40-year-olds sitting here filming their 40th episode of the podcast.
With our wives at home going 40 fucking nights out. 40 nights out without kids.
This is a rough week for me to talk about that. I got 3 nights out this week.
Oh, boy.
My wife is not amused. I'm like, sorry, babe. It's going to be a busy week this week. I'm not going to be home. Sorry.
40.
Yeah.
So, did you ever play Edward 40 Hands?
It's funny you say that. With the ever-looming sale of alcohol in gas stations now.
Yeah.
The gas station by my house had Budweiser 40s.
I saw Sunoco on Shannon Road is now selling alcohol.
Yeah. I was there not too long ago. But I made a comment to my buddy I was with. I was like, do you think it's acceptable at 40 to just show up at home with 4 40s and be like, we're going to play Edward 40 Hands in my garage?
This would be a good Thursday night.
So, yeah.
A couple rolls of duct tape and a couple 40s.
Yeah.
You're ready to go.
Your pants.
I couldn't imagine how productive I would be the next day.
4 40s.
Dude, I can't drink like that. And then the next day I feel like just absolute garbage.
Yeah, I don't know how I keep doing it. I think it's the stress. Seasoned vet. Well, and you got to remember, I go to work and it's 90 degrees.
Yeah, you're sweating it out.
Sweating, bud.
Yeah, I don't sweat. It's crazy.
You don't sweat?
I don't sweat that much. No.
Did you see? Speaking of sweat, did you guys watch Joe Rogan's new special?
Did not.
So he did
I've heard
live.
a lot of different things about it.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought his last one was better.
Yeah.
But dude, it takes some balls to do a fucking comedy special live. Most of those, I don't know if you guys know, but most of those guys film like 3 or 5 different specials and then
cut them up
and take the best out of everything.
Right.
He did that live. So I was like, I said to my wife when we sat down, I'm like, I'm kind of nervous for him. Like, this is big. Like, he's not just like, he's in front of the entire world doing this. I think it was good. He was funny.
Is it on Netflix?
Yeah, it was streamed live on Netflix. But the thing that was funny for me is that he was sweating, and his shirt, he wore like this silk shirt, and there were 2 lines of sweat right under his boobs.
Sweating.
Yeah, and it just, as the special went on, it just got more and more and more. By the end of it, it was like 2 sweat stripes. I'm like, oh man, that's gonna be all over the internet tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, that guy has done multiple ventures, pivoted multiple times.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He was just a normal guy.
Yeah.
Landed a Fear Factor just because he could make people eat dog shit.
Yeah, they gave him that job, and he was like, he talks about that on the special.
He just hyped people up to do stuff.
He does. And he talked about that on the special about how like he'd see the layout, the plot, or like the different challenges, and he's like, we can't make people do this. Like, this is, and I guess the thing that got it canceled was that they had to drink donkey semen. And he was like,
that's
we're
what did
doing
it.
What? We're going to make people drink this? And then he said there was literally a 5-gallon bucket there of that. And he's like, wait, how did you get that?
He has a birthday coming up.
Does he?
How old is Rogan now?
Dude, he's like almost 60.
He's 56.
Yeah, he
Birthday
over the last 5 years.
August 11th.
And he'll be 57, right?
He aged
57.
rapidly
it's
over the last
Sidney Crosby's birthday.
You know what, though? Like,
at this present
I don't
moment.
think he looks like he's almost 60 years old.
No, but he's definitely aged. He looked like the same dude for a long time, and then recently I've seen him.
Yeah,
he looks
so
like
that
he's
dude
aged.
works out like a maniac every single day. So like,
Well, how old's Snoop Dogg?
oh my God, he looks freaking old, man.
Yeah, he's You want to talk about somebody that's pivoted? He's gone from being an American gangster.
He's younger than Rogan.
To American grandpa.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's 52.
He's only 52.
Jesus Christ.
That dude looks like he's 70.
Yeah, he's gone from gangster to American grandpa.
Smokes a lot of weed.
So does Rogan.
Yeah, nobody's...
That's true.
So does Rogan.
Rogan also takes a lot of mushrooms.
He almost got fucking Elon Musk eliminated from everything because they smoked weed on the podcast.
Did.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Elon Musk, when he was on the first podcast with him, they smoked weed on the podcast. Tesla stock dropped so much the next day because everybody was like, he's nothing but a pothead. Everybody went nuts because he was smoking weed on the podcast.
I guess Bert's people got a hold of him because he was smoking weed on the podcast, and then he started smoking cigars, but they were secretly just full of marijuana.
So he did comedy.
Yeah.
Did comedy, Fear Factor, started a podcast, joined UFC, signed a deal with Spotify.
Yeah,
$100 million deal with Spotify. But now he's not exclusive on Spotify anymore. He's back on everybody else.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been listening to him for a long time. I like it a lot. I like him. And I like what he's done. I like how he brings all his friends with him.
And what's crazy is he had Tom Green on like probably 6 months ago, and Tom Green like invented podcasts. Yeah. Because like he was so sick of everybody like telling him what to do that he would just record these shows in his basement at his house.
Yeah. I've heard that story before. And
Rogan was there and recorded it and was like, I can do this.
Yeah. And he's like, this is awesome. Like,
yeah. I mean, essentially Rogan's podcast created a new form of media.
Hell yeah, he did.
So as we sit here.
Yeah. I mean,
three
he
guys that
this
are talking on a podcast.
It's revolutionized how people get their news. Not that I'm saying you should get your news from Rogan's podcast. That was never his intention. He doesn't like the fact that people do that. He always says he's just talking shit with his friends that he wants to talk to. But he's created this form of media now, because everybody, when he started, he talks about how everybody's like, you can't do a 3-hour podcast. Nobody's going to listen for that. And he's like, cool, then don't listen to it.
Right.
I'm going to do what I want to do and see how it works. And everybody at the time was used to these little 30-second blips or 5-second, 10-second between ads on the news. And people can't express, whether you're a politician, whether you're a celebrity, whether you're just a business owner, you can't express and explain your position on something or your story in a 45-second clip on the news.
Especially if you're not exposed to the media a lot, because a lot of times you get caught in the crosshair. Like people that get interviewed for the news, like, what did you see? And then they just go straight into like, they we see a fire truck going down the street.
Dude, I don't know where it's like they find
but it's like what I'm saying is they're probably not that dumb.
Yeah.
But they're just caught in that moment.
Yeah, trying to get it out as quickly as they can. They sound like idiots. Yeah, he's created this whole new, and now there's so many podcasts that are long form, conversational, open, like, let's just talk. I'm not going to interrupt you. I'm not going to try to get you. I'm just like, let's just like explain what you do, how you do it, whether, like I said, whether you're a politician or a business owner. And there's so many different versions of that now. And now we're sitting here trying to do the same thing.
Right.
And I don't know. I think it's really cool.
We haven't had, if you guys are following along, we haven't had a lot of guests, and that's due to the summertime. Yeah. Mostly, we don't want to interrupt people's lives. Kids are off.
It's tough. Summertime, vacations, kids are home from school. So
for those of you that reached out, we're not taking guests. We're just waiting. So kids go back to school in a couple weeks. We'll get back on the bike.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're going to focus on getting some really good quality guests and telling some really good stories. And, but you know, I don't really pay attention to the numbers. We don't do that for the number, do this for the numbers.
Right.
But it is pretty cool to watch, to see how many people are listening every week at all the different platforms, whether it's YouTube or whether it's the podcast and Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, all that stuff. We're on all of them, but it's definitely growing, and it's amazing, kind of humbling to see that there's that many people out there that are listening to three guys that are just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, we're in the thick of figuring it out right now.
No doubt about that.
We're starting up.
Stressful nights.
Yeah.
Jerry, how many times have you pivoted in life? We just talked about Rogan having 4 or 5 careers. I know you have several businesses under your belt.
I do. And I have some that have come and gone for a long time. You pivot all the time. We've talked about it over and over again. Literally every day there's some sort of pivot going on, because that's especially in the way the economy is right now, the way there's uncertainty out there. You're constantly trying to think about what you're doing now and, is this working? Is this not working? Okay, let's try it this way. And in learning, I had the benefit when I first started my firm and first started doing accounting and tax work and things like that, that I had some mentors, right? So I worked with a gentleman that kind of brought me under his wing and helped me get started, helped me start to understand the business. But he was a sole practitioner, worked out of his basement. He had a good business, very good business for somebody who was working out of his basement. But
not the vision.
What's that?
Not really the vision that you
It's not what I wanted. Yeah. I wanted to be bigger than that.
Yeah, some people were happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was a retired school teacher so this was a side hustle for him. And Then he retired from teaching and started doing it full time. And it provided him a very good living, but it was always him and his wife. He never really had employees. He'd have some people seasonally to help during tax season, things like that, but never really a full-blown business, brick and mortar business. And I had him as a mentor to learn the ins and outs of the business, but up to where he was, right?
Yeah.
So as I grew, I actually worked in his house with him for several years.
Story, yeah.
And once I outgrew that space, I moved into my first office that I rented in Oakmont, and it opened up a whole new level of how do I do this? Because now I have a rent bill. And then as business began to grow, now I'm like, okay, well, I need help. I can't do all this myself. So now I have multiple employees, and the business changed a lot over the years. When I first started and when he was in full swing, I said, what do you do? Like how busy are you around the year? And he's like, I'm busy as hell during tax season. And then I work maybe 10 or 20 hours a week or 10 or 20 hours a month for the rest of this year. And I was like, well, that's great. I mean, the business has changed. So it used to be, we'd see people during tax season, we'd do their taxes, they'd be gone. Now the IRS and the state have changed how they interact, and not for the better in a lot of places. So a lot of times, they're questioning things more often now. The state loves sending out penalties. If you owe more than around $250 to Pennsylvania when you file your taxes and you didn't file estimated payments, you get a penalty. Sometimes it's $8, sometimes it's $12, sometimes it's $70, depending on how much you owed. But now that opened up a whole new level of, now what do I do? Okay, so now I have all these clients that, and it's one thing if you are a business owner and you're doing your books and you can see what your profits are going to be and you can estimate, hey, at the end of the year, I'm going to owe this money. Let's send some money to the state as an estimated payment. But the majority of the people that owe the state are retired people that have investment accounts, because those investment accounts, as you earn dividends, they get reinvested a lot of times, or sometimes they get dumped into like a money market account, but you never see that money. It's not like you're getting a check every quarter for here's your dividends for the year, so you can see what you're making. It's just getting reinvested. So the majority of those people aren't really paying attention to the day-to-day operations of those investment accounts. So then when they come to see me at the end of the year, and I'm like, oh, well, you had $4,000 worth of dividends this year. Your investment brokerage bought and sold some stocks, so you had $10,000 worth of capital gains. You had interest income. Now all of a sudden you have a tax liability of $400, $500, $600, $700 to Pennsylvania. You didn't realize that during the year, and it would be very difficult for you to really keep track of that. But now Pennsylvania expects you to be sending in estimated payments based on that revenue, and you don't really even know that revenue exists. So
you just guess.
So that's what you end up having to do. But that stuff's not consistent.
It's not even like you can base it off last year.
I mean, you could have a year where you have $20,000, $30,000 worth of gains because the market's hot and they're buying and selling and they're making all these moves. The next year you have losses. So you're sending in estimated payments based on the profits you had last year, and now all of a sudden you're getting it all back because you didn't have those profits again. But then Pennsylvania adds a whole nother issue to that, is that they are so slow to send out a refund because they don't like giving refunds. And then they end up asking questions like, well, can you send us proof of this and proof of that? And they hold on to your money for sometimes 6-8 months. It's like, I don't want to send them estimated payments because they hold my money hostage for so goddamn long.
Mine took
I'd rather pay the
months.
$12 at least.
Mine took 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, that's a quick one. I mean, I have people that literally wait 8, 9, 10 months for a Pennsylvania refund. So
it's almost like they're waiting until next year. Be like, oh, well, we owe you 8. Well, then you owe us 9. Send us $100.
Let me add another complication to this. Okay, so you can, if you have a refund, you can credit it to the following year. So say I'm supposed to get an $800 refund. I can say, you know what, put $500 of it toward next year. That way I don't send in my estimated payments. Well, Pennsylvania takes 6, 8, 10 months to process the return. Now we're filing another return. They haven't processed the last one yet. Is that $500 credit on my account? So I'm supposed to take that on my tax return and reduce my liability, but they haven't processed last year yet.
Yeah.
It's a mess, and it's changed the business so much. So to answer your question, yeah, I've pivoted a ton. One thing that I just pivoted, we talked about it a couple episodes ago, I decided to sell a couple of my single family homes.
Yep.
We had it on the market for about 2 weeks, had them both on the market for about 2 weeks. Very little traction. Maybe 1 or 2 calls, no showings. Obviously something was wrong. Now, I listed them knowing that the kitchens were weak.
Yeah.
They were pretty much the only thing we hadn't touched in these houses. They were rental properties. So I went into this with a little bit of a discounted price thinking, I'm hoping I can get somebody in there that doesn't mind. It didn't work. The other mistake I made is I didn't have professional photos taken. So I kind of limped into it. I kind of did it. I didn't do it the way I needed to do it. I kind of knew it all along.
You were trying to get the easy squeeze.
I was trying to get it done easy without investing more money into these places, but
you got a lot going on. I can't blame you.
Yeah, it didn't work. So we said, okay, take them off the market, expire the listings, take them off. We have to do a little bit of work. So we went in, we gutted both the kitchens. We ordered new cabinets. We ordered countertops, new appliances, flooring. The one house, we're going to paint the entire inside of the house. And the other house, we have a little bit of paint, and I'm considering painting the outside of the house, but we're going to see what that price comes in at. But
little information on that. I saw a video, a photo of a guy in Gibsonia had a vinyl house painted like navy blue. And it's been so hot recently that certain colors of vinyl have different like structure makeup to like withstand the heat.
Yeah.
Because if they make a navy blue side and they know that it's going to
absorb more heat.
This dude's house looks like shit. It like
melted.
It didn't melt, but every joint buckled. Some of it actually popped off the house, and he had like CertaPro painters paint his house. It wasn't like he had
Joe Schmo. Yeah.
And I mean, I was like, what a nightmare. You know,
yeah, that sucks.
They should have known not to paint it navy blue, but
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So this house is brick, which I typically am not a huge fan of painting brick because I like brick.
There's all kinds of debates on that.
Right.
Reviews.
The problem with this is that there was originally the house had a window in one room that they bricked off. And there was some pointing work that was done on the house. So there's you could see it, right?
Yeah.
So if you paint the whole house,
whitewash it.
Yeah. If you do something like that, then you're hiding that and it looks more consistent, looks good. So
yeah. And that's one of the things like people say, oh, don't paint brick. Well, paint technology's come a long way. Like, don't go and buy latex paint and paint your house. Like, you're going to be fucked.
Yeah, you have to buy the right stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
you painted your house, huh?
Not yet.
Okay.
Because I've read all these mixed reviews.
I heard staining is the way to go.
Yeah, that's like a whitewash effect is what I think we're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so we pivoted. We took them off the market. We're going to do some work. I'm actually going to list them for a little bit more money.
Yeah.
To make up for it.
Yeah.
And I talked to Cameron, it was on the podcast, and I said to him, hey, you know, I don't usually sell. I'm a buy and hold guy. I did that one flip. That one flip sold in 6 hours.
Yeah.
Now you're on the other side of it.
So then I'm like, okay, well, this is a different neighborhood. It's a different kind of house.
Different
market. It's a different time.
Yeah.
Different market, exactly. So I called him and I said, hey, these houses have sat for about 14 days. I got nothing. Is that typical for this market? Is it typical for this time of year? What am I looking at? I'm a little spoiled because I had this house in Shaler that sold in a heartbeat. And he was like, 7 days on market is average. He said, yeah. He said, if it's still sitting with no love, there's something wrong. He said, first thing, I said, do you think my prices are too high? He said, no. He's like, first of all, you need professional photos. He's like, and I said, I'm thinking about redoing the kitchens. He's like, it would definitely help. Kitchens sell houses. So that's what we're going to do. We're pivoting.
All right.
But we pivot all the time. I've had all kinds of little businesses. My wife and I sold t-shirts off of a website at one point. We were selling, we've done all kinds of different stuff to try to find any angle we can. That's we're both entrepreneurial minded, and it was always like, what can we do to make some money? And so we're pivoting every day.
So many of those little ventures have cost me so much money.
That little venture, yeah.
The little venture. Just stuck with what I was good at.
Yeah, and that's exactly, I know. But
I have a $5,000 flat screen television hanging in the front of my store because
what brand?
It's a Philips, but what it was is it's not the fact of the television being fancy. It was one of those like digital display ad TVs.
Mm-hmm.
So they're different. So like they can hold a static image longer than a television.
It won't burn in.
And then if it does happen, like you lose one cell, they can go in the back and take a cell out and put a new cell in.
Mm-hmm.
And I made maybe $80 on that deal.
Yeah, here's the other thing.
Still have a TV.
How big's the TV?
50 inch.
Yeah. So I just bought a 55-inch Samsung for $300.
Right.
So you could have bought a lot of those.
Right.
And when it burned in, you throw it in a dumpster and you buy another one.
Right. Oh, the other thing is it has a Windows processor in it. So it's kind of like an all-in-one computer. Yeah.
Computer, huh?
So pay attention to our new podcast space. Maybe we'll put it in there. We'll burn some images in there and see what it's all about.
Best Buy, reach out to us.
Yeah, I'm excited. We can talk about the new podcast space we're developing.
Yes.
Yeah. It's going to be pretty awesome. I don't know if we should give state of the art. Yep. I don't know if we want to give too many details about the layouts and stuff like that. But
we were working on some designs, like kind of like flooring, Kellers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm just wondering where my sign fits in.
Oh, it'll be somewhere.
Well, we'll get some.
Maybe it'll be the table. Somewhere. We'll inlay it into the round table.
Yeah. There's going to be it's going to be
sponsors if you want to get.
Yeah,
84 lumber.
Yeah. We were talking about that. We're going to put some shelves up and stuff. We can put some product placement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm really excited about it.
Blank canvas, huh?
It's a blank canvas. Yeah. We're gonna lose the conference room table look.
Yeah. So what was cool was I think we were like talking a little bit before you got here. Round table.
Yeah.
Smooth out the edges. But we're gonna build a bar top out of my front counter at the cleaners.
Ah, look at that.
So it'll always just be there.
Yeah. Is the space empty yet, Joe? Is it your old retail space?
No,
I
just came up with a game plan today. So we will be taking
a sledgehammer.
No, you just keep taking
break stuff.
You got to keep making money, right? You can't stop making money.
Sure,
so.
You're selling off.
Yeah, so we're gonna take clothes until the 23rd of August.
Yeah,
that'll be the last day we take in clothes.
All right.
We will clean all the clothes the first 3 days in the following week.
Okay.
And then we will pull the plug on production on McKnight Road that Wednesday afternoon.
Will you be ready to start at the new space?
So fortunately enough, we have Labor Day.
Yeah.
So I only have to get like half of the plan up and running to be able to start on the 3rd.
Okay.
So I got to pick which side and then go from there. So as long as we're doing shirts on like the 3rd, 4th, 5th, somewhere in there, we'll be fine. Because that's
your bread and butter shirts?
They take the longest. So
okay.
You don't want to get behind on shirts. Yeah, you can get caught up on dry cleaning and stuff, but shirts, you handle them. It's a shame because we don't make as much on those.
They take longer than suits?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because like it's just so much touching up and shit. But so, I mean, the nice thing about going to home delivery is a lot of our customers are a week out. So as long as I get those 3 days, and I have 10 days essentially to get the shit done. So it'll be a long process, I guess, but
it's all for the better. Sometimes it gets real shitty right before it gets good.
Right. So I've moved a lot of dry cleaning equipment. I've gone as far as Georgia, picked up equipment, like Georgia used Beach. Like a chain, you know what a chain fall is? Like where you pull it and Like,
yeah.
So I use the chain fall to like pull equipment in a truck by myself. And like,
jeez,
what's going to make this neat is I have 3 forklifts, which I don't know why, but I have 3. So we're going to have one at both locations. So it'll be a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll make it nice. I'm looking forward to it.
Got a moving van, or what are we using?
You know, I have a trailer. My stepdad has a trailer.
Nice.
A lot of trailers. I mean, he has an equipment trailer, so we can put a lot in there. I called a guy about maybe potentially moving my dry cleaning machine because that's $70,000. And like, you know, when you drive down 28 and you see like shit that blew off the truck.
Yeah.
Like if you see my dry cleaning machine on the side of 28, you're going to see me with it. Like,
70 G's, yeah.
Yeah.
Would it be insured during that commute?
I'm going to have to call my insurance company about that.
I bet your car insurance would cover it.
Maybe.
You're just responsible for anybody it falls on.
You know, knock on wood, I've never lost anything off of bullshit. I lost a lawnmower one time when I was like 20 on 28, right at the merge point for like the stadiums and the airport.
It's just,
did
you notice?
Dude, I had a board in the back of my trailer that popped up and the mower came off. And the lady pulls up next to me on ESO High. She goes, sir. I'm like, what the fuck? She's like, sir. She was like floored because it just missed her. She was like, I think you lost your lawnmower. And I'm like, there's no way. I get out of the truck. I'm like, oh shit.
There's no lawnmower here.
So that kind of shit happens. I mean, knock on wood, thank God no one was hurt, you know. Like,
yeah, that's the big thing. You're responsible for anything that flies out of a truck.
Right. I did have a tarp blow out one time onto a state trooper's police car in North Huntington, a burlap sack, and he lit me up right away.
I bet he did.
Yeah, I worked for a company. Yeah, I got a ticket, and there was no paperwork in the truck.
No.
2 tickets.
No, I was working for a big company at the time, and the owner was a really nice gentleman, and he was on vacation, and I had to call him because they were like giving me a grace to like I couldn't get a hold of anybody in the office, so I called the big boss.
Yeah.
And he was like, this better be goddamn important. And I was like, I'm kind of pulled over right now, and I think they think I stole the truck. And he was like, I don't think it sounds important enough. Call the office and hung up the phone.
Nice.
So shit happens.
It does.
So yeah, I mean that kind of stuff. Like actually, I don't get to do it all the time. Like so, my neighbor was on Craigslist and sent me a picture of like all these pipe fittings.
Yeah.
And he was like, do you think you could use any of these? And I'm like, absolutely. It was $125. I probably got $1,000 worth of pipe fittings.
There are some deals out there.
Yeah. And I was like, they have like these nipple trays where they go like close nipple all the way up to like a 6-inch nipple. So when you're working on, you grow up, you're 40, fucker.
Didn't say anything.
So when you're working on something, if you're like trying to make 2 pieces of pipe come together, you can have all that right there. There was 8 of them.
Okay.
When I sent our delivery driver up to pick them up, I said, well, if you get pulled over, just tell him you're making pipe bombs.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Wow. So are you selling stuff from the old place? Or are you just taking it all with you?
I'm going to take it with me. Actually, 2 years ago, the used equipment market for dry cleaners was like flooded.
Right.
Because people were closing because of COVID.
Yeah.
Now you can't find shit. Like it is hard. It is hard to find used equipment. There was an auction that was going to be going on over on 51. They pulled the auction. Kind of screwed me up because I was like, I need the air compressor, but I'll make it work.
Where do you even find that kind of stuff? Is there like a drycleaners.com?
eBay a lot of times. Yeah, Facebook. We have like a dry clean owners group on Facebook. Problem is like we know there's not a lot of dry cleaners around us. The people that are in business are staying in business, and the people that are going out of business didn't invest in their business, so their shit's all shit.
Yeah.
But like, I will sell my boiler because I found that there's a huge secondary market for boilers because not only do dry cleaners use the vertical boiler that we use, so do brewers, like breweries.
Really?
Yeah. So selling that, if anybody needs a brewery boiler, 15 horsepower. I mean, because I took a loan for $25,000
to buy a new one.
Yeah. So I could
You don't
probably
need a second one?
How's that work, Jerry? So he buys a boiler for $25,000 10 years ago. Depreciation or whatever, and then he sells it at a loss. What happens?
Well, it's not a loss.
All right.
It's gain.
So the way
I guess that's income.
Well, yeah. So the way it's going to work, anytime you buy an asset like that, it goes on your balance sheet and you have to depreciate it over a number of years. So a car, 5 years, piece of equipment can be 5, 7, 10. Depends on the useful life of the equipment. So if he's owned it for 10 years, then chances are it's fully depreciated. There's no value left on your books. So anything that you sell that for is going to be not only considered income, but it's actually taxed at an ordinary rate. So it's not capital gains because you have to recapture the depreciation. So
what if I sell it for like a trade for hangers?
So you still have to recognize whatever that value is. So if the hangers are $1,000 worth of hangers, then you're receiving something. That's compensation. So
all right, well then I'm going to donate it. Fuck it.
Wow. Joe donated.
Goodwill.
So
what boiler?
Yeah. So
what boiler?
What if it's not fully depreciated?
So the way it's going to work is if it's not fully depreciated, say for instance he paid $10,000 for this boiler originally 10 years ago. Say it's 9 years ago, right? So he has $1,000 left in book value, and he sells it for $3,000. So his profit over the book value is $2,000.
Yeah,
that's what he's going to have to pay ordinary tax rate for.
Gotcha.
Now, say for instance the market on boilers has gone through the roof, and you got a really rock star deal on it 10 years ago, and say you sell it now for $12,000. So you sold it for more than you paid for it, plus it's down to $1,000 on your books. So now you're going to pay taxes 2 different ways on that.
Oh boy.
Okay, so now you're going to pay capital gains tax for the $2,000 over the initial purchase price.
Yep.
That, depending on your tax rate, can be anywhere from 0 to 20%. For the vast majority of the American public, it's 15%.
Yeah.
Okay. Pennsylvania also taxes 3.07% on that. Okay, so now you're at 18.07% on the $2,000, which is considered capital gains, which is any profit over the original purchase price if you've owned the asset for over 1 year. Okay. The other $9,000, because 10,000 minus the 1,000 of useful life, that's what he's depreciated over the last 9 years. That is taxed at the ordinary income rate, which means whatever his tax rate is on his tax return, that's the rate. And that goes anywhere from 0 to 39%. So depending on how much money you make, that's how you pay the tax. So he'd be taxed separately on the 9 and the 2 for a combination.
What if I give it to my kids?
What if he trades it for nipples?
Galvanized
to the
nipples. Galvanized nipples.
Yeah. So there's.
So I paid cash for it, so I don't even know if I wrote it off when I bought it.
Well, let's not say that.
Well, I personally bought it because that was at a time when the business wasn't making any money.
Well, it was
a hobby. My business is a hobby.
Don't say that.
Edit, cut.
Yeah. So what? Cash is dirty.
Yeah,
I don't take cash.
Yeah,
no, cash is dirty.
What I do is I live in a tent. And I cash my paycheck.
He lives in a boiler.
But you see that
so
most
sales of
equipment, any sort of asset.
Equipment matters.
Your vehicle.
Yeah.
The vehicle adds another complication to it too, because based on whether you trade it or you sell it outright, you treat it differently.
Yeah.
If you sell it outright, you have the same thing here, where you have to take the depreciated value, all that kind of stuff.
What if you lose money? Like, what if you bought a van for 10?
You take a loss. So if you bought a van for 10,
talking about,
that's what I need, Joe.
And you sold it right away, and you took a $2,000 loss, right?
So I can make 3 on the boiler and lose 3 on the van, and we're even.
You're even.
Exactly.
That's
what I'm talking about.
Yep. It's a capital loss. Yeah, you're allowed to do that.
Yeah, I'm in the market I think we're trying to I need like an advisor when it comes to automobiles right now. Because I have a driveway. Yeah, I have a driveway full of vehicles. And like, I got 2 good ones, 1 okay one, one's a piece of shit. And like, I'm like, man, I need to like figure out how to like buy something sweet.
Yeah.
Like a family vehicle. I don't want to buy a car for myself. I don't need a car.
Yeah, you want to buy your wife like a Range Rover?
I don't know. She'll wreck it.
G-Wagon.
I don't know. We don't have that much shit in my driveway.
Another little piece of tax advice.
The SGVWs.
6,000 pounds, buddy. Make sure it's over 6,000 pounds. There's no limit to the depreciation. And we can take, for 2024, I think it's 60% or it might be 40% in the first year as a bonus depreciation.
Huh.
No limit on depreciation.
If it's over 6,000 gross vehicle weight.
So go buy a dump truck.
You're good to go. Any full-size truck, actually, and it's actually gotten even more than that. These manufacturers, they know the drill.
Yeah.
So it used to be that if you were to get that, you needed to be in a full-size truck. That was typically the thing. So any full-size truck would have typically been over 6,000. But now they've gotten to the point now where they're putting these higher gross vehicle weights on smaller cars, like a Chevy Blazer, which is a pretty small crossover, is 6,001 pounds.
Nice.
So funny enough, something I learned recently too. Well, I kind of heard it before, but if you buy like my van, for instance, is 2,500, so it's 11,000 GVW.
Yep.
But since I'm not going to be hauling,
you can reduce
it one weight class.
My truck's the same way.
Yeah, save yourself a shit ton of money.
Yeah, my truck's a 1 ton. It's a 3,500, and I don't need a 1 ton. Right. I didn't order a 1 ton, but it came in and my truck was delayed, and I'm like, I like that one better. So I bought that one instead. But it's a 1 ton truck, but I'm never going to take, the gross vehicle weight on mine is like 12 or 13,000 pounds. I'm never going to do that.
Right.
So I was able to basically title it like a 3/4 ton.
Right.
It saved me a few $100 a year.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if you're listening at home and you want to
quote me on the few hundred, it was a substantial decrease.
Yeah. So if you're like, hey man, I don't like the way F-150s look like, but I don't need an F-250. You can buy an F-250 and register it as an F-150.
Yeah.
Like essentially the weight class.
You can reduce the weight class down so that it's not a class 3 vehicle. It's a class 2 vehicle.
Yeah, because they're factoring that in on like you ruining the roads, right?
Yeah, that's it. Wear and tear on the roads.
Right. So then that brings me to something I wrote down earlier when we were kind of talking about some stuff. What's kind of got me pissed off is like electric bikes. Like people bought these electric bikes and they drive them on the road like they're motorcycles.
Let's see one recently.
And they have no repercussion because they're instantly a bicycle at any moment, but they're on the roads. If they keep getting run over by cars and getting hurt, our insurance is going to go up. They don't have to have a plate on them. Some of these electric bikes will go 30, 40 miles an hour.
And they don't have to have, I guess they don't. They don't have a plate.
They don't have an inspection. They don't pay anything into the roads, but yet they get free reign of the roads.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with cyclists.
No,
let's start with that.
No, yeah, I am one. I love riding my bike.
When you don't obey the traffic laws, that's ridiculous.
Right. And that's what I'm saying about these electric bikes. They're finding a loophole to like get this free transportation. And I did hear someone say that they're going to tax electric cars starting next year because they're not paying the tax at the pump.
Oh,
so
really?
They're
start taxing the
power. They're avoiding that tax, and that tax does take care of the roads.
Yeah.
So they're going to start, I don't know. I don't want to get too political, but
we're not,
the politicians, they have it figured out.
But that's the crazy thing. And I'll tell you what, I was just reading, because I'm a car guy, so I read about that kind of shit all the time. Ford is giving insane rebates and incentives on the Ford Lightning, the F-150.
They got to be sitting on hundreds.
They can't sell them,
right?
And I think part of it
what did you call them? Cute.
They're cute. Yeah. Part of it is their marketing strategy is stupid because they keep talking about how fast they are. Nobody gives a shit how fast a truck is. What can it tow? What can it haul?
And how long?
And for how long? Exactly. Yeah. Because I don't care how fast it gets to 60. It's a pickup truck. But I need to know if I hook a trailer to it and I put 2 motorcycles in that trailer, can I get 100 miles down the road? Right. Or do I have to stop at 50 and fucking charge it back up?
And I think that's where they missed the boat. They just aren't there with the range.
Yeah, that's a big issue.
They go for $63,000.
The F-150 Lightning.
At one point, they were selling for over 100.
They market it as $10,000 potential 3-year savings after a federal tax credit.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Now, the tax credit used to be that the buyer would take it on their tax return. Mm-hmm. But now as an incentive to help these dealerships get rid of some of these electric cars that are selling, the dealerships can collect that tax credit at the time of sale and offset the purchase price with it. So so now they're using that as part of the incentives to try to sell off these cars that they can't seem to move.
Which, like, I don't understand how.
Say sub 4 second 0 to 60 time.
Who cares?
I
don't understand. Like,
but then you got to stop and charge.
I think what we're getting at is,
as soon as you get to 60,
if you're a business owner in the market for a vehicle, there's a lot of things to consider from a tax perspective and not just buying what you want.
I couldn't imagine if you had, like, say you had like a window company and you bought the F-150 Lightning because it's $63,000. It's pretty affordable.
Yeah, trucks are. Yeah, it's not unheard of to spend $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 on a pickup truck.
But like, employees are employees. They make mistakes, so they come back to the shop. They don't plug the truck in, and they load it up the next morning, and you're like, "The fuck?"
Yeah.
Like, it's not charged. Like, I do it with my phone. I fall asleep with my phone in my hand.
Did you see they sell these little
magnets that go, I'm getting one for my van.
Did you hear about this?
No.
So you get these little magnet plate things that you can put over your you open up your gas door and they click on, and then you can take one of those charging stations and stick it to it so you can park in an electric, because now they have all this designated parking for electric vehicles.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about getting one, parking my diesel pickup truck and plugging it in.
I saw a dude that I had a customer with local ties, and she's a clown. Like, she goes to kids' birthday parties and stuff, but she used to have
literally a clown.
Yeah, I thought you meant.
Okay.
But she had a Prius, and on the back she had a sticker that said, "I identify as a Peterbilt." But the guy that was showing that magnetic thing with the plug-in, it said, "I identify as a Prius," and it was like a King Ranch 350 diesel.
That's awesome.
It's, because you can, like, everywhere you go, there's parking. It's like, I deserve a good parking spot too.
Oakmont has 3 parking spaces down at the park that nobody ever parks in because they're EV only. Target has an entire line of Tesla chargers.
They do.
Right.
And every once in a while you go over there and there's like 6 Teslas all parked there. I was just over there the other day. No cars parked there. Now, I'll give Target.
They put it far away from the building. They put it far
away. They put it up against the highway.
With the magnet, you could just put it on the roof. People would be taking pictures of the truck. Like, what the fuck is going on?
And here's the thing. Like, I'm not an asshole, so like, I can't be an asshole. It's debatable. But like, I'd probably not, because I'm not an asshole, I'd be afraid somebody would do something to my truck. But I wouldn't park my truck in one of those spots, hook it up, and then walk away and be like, haha, I get front row parking. I wouldn't do that, because I'd be afraid some asshole's going to come and like key my truck. But I would buy that thing just for the photo op. Just because I want to post on Facebook that I put my 1-ton diesel pickup truck and plugged it in like it was a Tesla.
Yeah, there's the thing with the electric vehicles, it's not the answer. There's an opportunity for them to make a fuel cell vehicle that runs off fuel cells run off the nitrogen in the air.
There's a lot of, I was just talking to a couple guys that were talking about, I guess there's a lot of development in these mobile nuclear power centers. There's a company out there, and the name of the company's slipped my mind. So,
and the owner has just been killed, probably.
Yeah. Well, there's bipartisan effort right now to start investment in nuclear power. So, if you look at any other country in the world, especially Europe, France is like leading the world on nuclear power. Nuclear power, the whole idea that nuclear waste is this like toxic green sludge, it's fiction. That's Simpsons shit.
Yeah, Simpsons.
Okay, that's not real. The nuclear waste that is real is pieces of metal that have radiation. I mean, it's not good.
Right.
But it's also, I read a statistic that you could take, and I'm going to butcher this, but you're going to get the point. If you took all the world's nuclear waste for like 30 or 40 years, it wouldn't fill up a football field. I mean, we're not talking about, polluting the oceans and needing to dump nuclear waste on Mars. It's not as big of a deal as The Simpsons made it seem like it is.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of push to that because it's sustainable. It's clean. And the technology has advanced so far that the Chernobyls and the 3 Mile Island and that kind of stuff, that's ancient history. That doesn't happen anymore. So there's a lot of push, bipartisan, because these alternative energy sources, wind, solar, they're not sustainable. They're not producing enough power to sustain the United States. It doesn't work. And you have states like California they came out, Gavin Newsom came out and said that his plan is to make it illegal to buy or sell an internal combustion vehicle by 2035. That's not that far away. That is not possible with the current grid. It doesn't work. I mean, they're in a position now where during the summer months, they have to tell people not to plug in their electric cars, to not use their air conditioning because they have rolling brownouts.
Well, and also at 40, we're old enough to know that, like, we've seen this shit before. So, like, remember 2-cycle lawnmowers? You mixed your oil, you mixed your gas. That lawnmower lasted you 25 fucking years. You cut your grass.
Lawn boys.
You fired it up in the spring, you put it away in the fall, ran it dry. Well, California outlawed that first. And then it kind of trickled across the country.
Right.
And now you're lucky to get 2-3 years out of a 4-cycle lawnmower.
Yeah, mine's falling apart.
Yeah. If it goes back to, like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Unless you have a really good fucking solution for the problem.
Yeah, and I think that I don't want to say that the reliance that we have on fossil fuels isn't broken.
Yeah.
I think that it is something that we need to be considering. Hey, this isn't going to last forever. There are consequences to being so dependent on oil, whether it's foreign relations, whether it's pollution, whether it's China buying up all the farmland, whatever you may think, there's consequences to being dependent on oil. So I think researching alternative energy sources is necessary. I don't think that we can, at this point, say in the next 11 years, we are going to outlaw the vehicles that everybody owns. It's not possible. Now, the other thing too is that politicians are politicians, right? Both sides of the fence, they're left or right. It's all hyperbole.
Yeah,
they're all talking shit, trying to get votes, whether they're
all
Democrat or Republican.
But it's a snake charmers.
Yeah, snake oil salesman.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot to that, and I don't think that it's realistic to think that any state is going to outlaw internal combustion engines by 2035. And I don't think he believes it either, because it's just not there.
I am curious to see where we are in 10 years, though, because
I think
Tesla came and Tesla was this new thing. Yeah. It was like voodoo.
Yeah.
And now every vehicle has an electric option, pretty much.
Yeah, every brand. So anyway, they're talking about, there's a company that came out with these, they're basically like portable nuclear reactors where they can take, instead of having like a backup diesel generator in your building, you have a little nuclear reactor. And they basically can run forever. And they're actually talking about eventually being able to get them so small that they fit in a car. And now you end up with nuclear power vehicles that don't give off any sort of emissions and can run forever.
Because that's got to be the goal. It's got to be zero emissions from start to finish. Not zero emissions while you're driving the car and then all these back end problems.
100%. And that's the thing that nobody wants to talk about.
They're all just passing the buck down the road.
They are, because the mining of the lithium and the cobalt and all the stuff that they're using to build these electric cars is just as problematic as the emissions that we're getting from internal combustion engines. So I think we're a ways away. The car guy in me is like, nah, I don't want it. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. I think there will always be a market for that. And I think, these internal combustion engines they're not going anywhere in our lifetime.
I can just see the 2040 Corvettes all electric with a Bose soundbar out front that just is like,
dude, do you hear these cars that are like, Dodge came out with a Challenger. So Dodge announced 2024 is the last year for the Hemi. So the Challenger, the Charger, even the Ram, no more Hemis.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No more Hemis for 2025. Done. No more V8 motors. And the Challenger and the Chargers are coming out electric. But because people that have a Challenger, they want to hear that shit.
Yeah.
They want that growl. So they have a fucking computer in it with a speaker. Then when you rev it up, it goes, oh yeah, it's so dumb. But they do it. But you know, that technology's been around for a while. BMW came out with an M5 a handful of years ago that didn't make enough noise, so they were piping engine noises through the speakers in the car so that you could hear it better. I mean, brands have been doing that kind of shit to try to like flim you.
The fucking Indianapolis Colts did it to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They pumped in crowd noise. And then we went back 4 weeks later and kicked their ass in the playoffs.
That's right.
So I don't know. We're a ways away, but
be interesting.
Definitely going to be interesting to watch. I think we're on the cusp of, I mean, the technological advances that we're witnessing right now.
Yeah, I mean,
the phone. I mean,
someone actually
came out when we were in high school.
When I was in college, I had a little flip phone or a little Ericsson phone, like Nokia, that like you played Snake on.
Text messages were 10 cents a piece.
Yeah, exactly.
You had to call after 9.
And then somebody sent you 4 text messages. You're like, come on, man. You gotta say that in one.
One of 4, 2 of 4.
Yeah.
You know, someone said something to me not too long ago. They said, do you think that your daughter, where all of our kids are the same age, do you think they'll have to take a driver's test?
No.
You know,
no.
There's going to be a point, like we've talked about AI.
They won't drive.
There's going to be a point in the next few years that you're going to be able to get in a car, put in your GPS where you want to go, and just sit back and wait. It's going to drive you where you go. And
GM could have a few roadies and.
Yeah, GM was working really hard.
About that, man.
And it's going to
go. You can do it now.
You can almost do it now. And
well, Tesla, you could do it.
Yeah, the autopilot.
So imagine 10 years from now.
Yeah, it's going to be
5.
What GM was trying to do. They came out. I think the name of the company, the name of the division was.
You won't
Raven.
even need a delivery driver, Joe.
Yeah, just set it and forget it.
Till I got a customer call me like, "There's 1,000 pieces of clothes in my front yard."
Your truck's just shooting clothes and shit out.
But drones.
GM was working on a whole division of the brand that they were going to start. They're trying to work it so that people don't have to buy cars anymore.
Yeah.
That everything's ride share. You get on your phone, you say, I want to go here. A car shows up, you get in, the car drives you where you go. People don't own cars anymore.
You ever like type in an address in your Waze and it's like wrong and you just personally know it's wrong?
Yeah.
Could you imagine for any 15 beers deep after a golf outing, I just put in like
55 penny
lane Wichita, Kansas. Pick up the next.
Why the hell are we getting on the turnpike?
I'm like, how am I out of beer? Like, fucking 5-minute ride home. I'm out of beer.
Do you think that's going to change the open container law whenever people are self-driving?
I mean,
yeah,
so Pennsylvania has an open container law. Some states don't.
I've used that before. Like I've had buddies that are like, dude, like we've gone on trips and they'd be like, I can't drink in the car. I'm like, I'm not driving. They're like, dude, yeah, it's open container. I'm like, all right. And then we'd like roll into Maryland. I'm like, did you know Maryland doesn't have an open container law?
Does Maryland not?
I don't
know.
I just made it up.
So Mississippi doesn't. My brother was in pilot school in Mississippi, and that was the first time I had seen a gas station that sold singles. Now they do it here, but you still have an open container law. But in Mississippi, the rule is as long as the driver's not drinking it, you're good.
I think it's like that in New Orleans because they have drive-through Hurricane. You can get mixed drinks ready to drive through.
Yeah, so I think as long as it's just down the south, I don't give a shit.
I don't know if
Maryland does have an open container law, Joe. So.
Okay, well, I don't know if I've ever said this on air, but I've always felt that your driver's test, you should be able to drink as much as you want.
That should be your limit.
You just roll in to the DMV.
Whatever your limit is.
And then you get a stamp. You get a stamp on your
driver's license.
As long as it's under, Joe can handle it at
because it's not fair. It's not
fair.
No, it's not fair. I mean, and I don't want to downplay the drinking and driving. It's like funny, but
you're gonna get
it's not fair that you take like
all the comments we're gonna get for this one.
Yeah, but you just like take someone that like can have 6 beers and then go home and be fine. And then you take like the kid that had 2 beers that fucking drives his car off the Halton Bridge. It's like
0.08 is not many beers.
No, 0.1. It's 1 shot of NyQuil. Like that's the NyQuil law.
Who takes NyQuil and drives a car?
I know, but they're just cough medicine, Robitussin, anything. Yeah. So like, I think that there should be tiers.
Mouthwash.
Like you should be able to be like, all right, man, you're a 5-star general.
DUI tiers, Joe.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Like there's the Jimmy the contractor that drinks 15 beers a day.
Yeah.
That has like,
dude,
you can wake up the next morning from drinking and get a DUI.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know a guy that is such a functional alcoholic that he like, you can't even tell the difference. He can be like 10 beers deep and you're like, you good? He's like, yeah, he could drive that forklift around.
Forklift, yeah.
No problem at all. And then there's guys that have 2 beers and they're driving that forklift down fucking 28. Like, what's up?
So that's what I mean. Is like, I don't think it's fair to like, I think it's profiling.
All right.
It's like all alcoholics are bad drivers, you know, like profiling. All right, take a break. I'm trying this.
Let's run that
You
back.
got a fucking nerve there.
Hold on, I need a drink. I need another drink.
Oh, man.
And now a brief word from our sponsor.
This episode of Between Two Bridges is sponsored by Paymark Payroll. Are you tired of spending countless hours juggling payroll calculations, tax filings, and compliance regulations? Well, say goodbye to that chore and let Paymark Payroll take the burden off your shoulders. With our secure online portal, you can access your business information from any internet location, even your phone. Employees will love the ability to receive direct deposits, and they can access all their pay stubs, tax forms, and information through their own portal. Focus on growing your business while we take care of the rest. With top-notch customer support, we're always here to assist you with anything, at any time. Don't let payroll stress hold you back. Choose Paymark Payroll and experience the freedom to thrive. Contact us at payyourpeople.com for a personalized consultation and a demonstration of our powerful payroll solutions, and see how Paymark Payroll can better your workflow. That's payyourpeople.com. Join the growing list of satisfied businesses that have embraced the convenience and efficiency of Paymark. Payday made easy. Your business deserves nothing less than the best, and that's exactly what Paymark Payroll delivers. Now back to the show.
So we owe it to people to kind of inform them of what's going on a little bit, I guess, and like we owe it to people to talk about things that are relevant.
Yeah, I think that
I'd say that's part of our podcast.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the world of economics right now, and I think that it's you're gonna need a beer for this one, but there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
As anybody's paying any attention, as you know, as we're recording this, which is going to be, it's not going to drop for a week or whatever, but so hopefully, well,
big news.
Not hopefully, but hopefully this isn't like super irrelevant by the time it hits. But the market's down,
right? And I wonder how many people because that's like big news, right? And market's up, market's down, market's up, market's down.
Yeah.
How many percentage of the United States population understand what it means when the market's up?
Probably not much. And everybody panics, and you see these people that are, in their 60s, and they're looking at retiring soon, and they're looking at their retirement accounts that just took a beating.
Right.
And, I'm kind of torn, right? Because if you have a good investor or, investment company and a financial advisor, if you're in your 60s, you're not in the stocks. Okay. So you should be in very low risk investments that aren't going to fluctuate so much whenever we have a big market issue.
Bonds.
Bonds. Yeah. I mean, you got to.
I remember my mutual fund had like government housing was one of the investments, I believe. Yeah. So
you got to be in stuff that's more
stable
when you're that age and you're close to retiring, because you don't want to be in a situation, because here's the thing, the market goes up, the market goes down. It's cyclical. It happens every 8 or 10 years. Okay. It's not a secret. It's not a surprise. It's happening now. The market took a beating over the last week, 2 weeks. And, there are a lot of people that lost a lot of wealth. I think I read that the market lost $2 trillion.
Yeah. And the people that lost a lot had it to lose. You hope. But there are people that are just watching their 401ks that are just going down to, just dropping double digits in percentage values. And it's terrifying. And I get that. And people are looking at their life savings like, oh my God, I'm never going to retire. The worst thing to do right now, take the money,
panic and sell.
Yeah.
The market's down. the best thing to do, if you have it, buy more. Everything's on sale.
Yeah.
This isn't going to last. It might last a few years. This isn't going to rebound in a year. This isn't COVID, where COVID had dropped because the economy stopped, but it rebounded pretty quickly. But that was an external factor that was impacting the market and a lot of uncertainty and not knowing what's going on. The issues right now are economic issues that are going to be a minute. So buy in.
Yeah.
If you have money laying around, now's the time to buy, not sell.
Well, I think we talked about it previous episodes. I said, I don't have a 401k as a small business owner. There's there are benefits to it. Like if I wanted to invest into one, but people that have 401ks usually have match. So it gets you excited, gets you fired up. You put the money in. Well, I bought a building.
Yeah.
There's my 401k.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. As business owners, we talk about it all the time. You invest in your business, and your business is your retirement, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
And the whole idea, that's why we bought buildings, because the businesses have more value when there's a building around it that you own. So I'm invested in real estate, as everybody knows. That's my retirement. Okay. So my thought is I'm 40. They're all mortgaged, but by the time I'm retirement age, they'll be paid off.
Right.
And then I'll have, hopefully a few $1 million worth of real estate that will be my retirement.
And then you can invest it in the stock market.
Possibly. Or I just collect the rent.
Right.
That's the whole thing. And I tell people that all the time. And it takes thick skin and a fucking iron stomach to be a landlord. It's hard. And it's not a get rich quick. You're not going to make $1 million in a year. It's a long, hard battle. But if you have 20 units by the time you're 60, 65 that are all paying $1,000 a month, obviously you have property taxes, you have insurance, you have operating costs, but what investment out there is going to put $20,000 a month in your pocket with 20 doors? I mean, we're not talking, 20 units, say they're $100,000 a piece, which in Pittsburgh is reasonable. So you have $2 million worth of assets that are going to put $20,000 a month in your pocket. You're not going to get that
with a 401k.
With a 401k.
No.
You're not going to get that with a money market account.
Isn't there a limit on what you can withdraw at retirement?
There's not a limit. There's an age limit. If you're under 59 and a half, you can't take anything out without paying a 10% penalty to the government. There's not a limit, but there's
like
a limit.
Required distribution.
Required minimum distributions start.
Roth, maybe.
Yeah. Well, the required minimum distributions kick in, and they keep changing the age. They're pushing the age up, and I'll explain why they keep doing that. But there's a point in your life where they start to force you to take those retirement accounts, because a lot of those retirement accounts are tax deferred. Government wants their money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We've talked about that before. Yeah.
So they want their money. The reason why they keep pushing it back is what's happening right now is obviously the baby boomers, which is the largest generation, are all getting to retirement age. Okay. So this is a problem that started in the 80s when they passed the ERISA bill, ERISA, which forced it created the required minimum distribution. What ends up happening is, as they hit 70, and I think now it's 73, once they hit that age, they have to start taking money out, which means they have to start selling their investments. Well, when you have the largest generation all selling, you have more sellers than you have buyers. And what happens when you have more people selling than buying? The values go down. So having all of these people all selling investments and not enough people buying them up, you're going to create a crash in the market.
Yeah, our parents' generation's been fucking us for 30 years. Let's just go on record with that.
So they're trying to stretch that out. So they're pushing that mandatory withdrawal age higher and higher to try to get people to try to spread out that sale. Because honestly, most people in their 70s I mean, as far as, I mean, I can't say most people because I've not done a study, but in my opinion, I do taxes for a lot of people and a lot of people of that age. Most of the time these people get to that age and they're like, hey, I don't need all that money. I don't want all that money, but now the government is forcing me to sell it. So now they're pushing that age up to reduce the number of people that are being forced to sell it so that they can spread out that demand of sale, and hopefully not crash the market over it. But they meaning the government is doing a hell of a job crashing the market as it is. Not to get political, but we have a couple things to talk about. I think the first thing we should talk about is one of the reasons why the market is coming down right now.
Yeah,
what caused this?
Why in the world, of all the regulations in business, why in the world would you be allowed to take United States dollars?
Yeah.
Invest it in yen.
Yeah, the carry trade.
And then
so
suck it back out.
Right. So to explain what's going on, in Japan, they had negative interest rates even up until very recently, like I think within the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Negative interest rates means that banks were charging people to make deposits. So it's the opposite of what we have here. Here, banks pay you interest on your money because they want your deposits, because here they can lend your money. Sometimes as high as 10 to 1. Okay. So if you deposit $1,000, they can lend $10,000 on that $1,000. So the banks want to make the money. So they're taking your money, paying you 1%, 2%. In some cases, it's as high as 3 or 4 or 5, but then they're lending it out at 8, 9, 10% times 10 because they're doing it 10 times, and they're making all that spread, right? So in Japan, it was actually the opposite, where the government had negative interest rates to try to help the economy. So the banks were actually charging you to hold your money, and then you could borrow money for extremely low rates, like really low. So what savvy American investors were doing, the Warren Buffetts of the world, the investment companies of the world like that, or of the country, they were borrowing money in yen from Japan and then taking that money and investing it in American companies here in US dollars, investing in tech companies and things like that. So I'm sure you've seen all these articles that are saying Warren Buffett just sold off half of his Apple stock. So it wasn't because he necessarily, and I'm not Warren Buffett. I don't have his number. I can't speak for him. And I don't think that he's actually come out and said why. I don't think it was because of any lack of
belief in Apple.
Belief in Apple. Exactly. What's happening here is that Japan raised rates. Now the yen all of a sudden is becoming more expensive, and it's creating a short sale situation where people like Warren Buffett, these corporate traders are trying to sell off these investments so that they can get out of these positions. And it's created a massive sell event, which has crashed the market. Like I said earlier, they're $2 trillion lost in the market in a couple of days. But that's what's happening and that's why, we have an extremely global market. Okay. Mm-hmm. We can pretend like we're the United States and we are all by ourselves, but it is not. So whenever the market crashes in Japan, it crashes in the rest of Asia, in Europe, the United States, we all feel it, and it affects all of our markets. So that is a big reason why the market has just fallen out. The bottom has fallen out of it. Today, I think it was down 265 points, which was a light day. Yeah. There was a day a couple days ago when it was down 1,000 points.
You just touched on something. Worldwide economics.
Yeah.
So the video we watched talking about that same guy had a thing called Big Mac economics that I've never heard of before.
I didn't either, but I found it really interesting and did a little bit of reading about it. Do you want to kind of sum it up?
Well, I mean, I see it because I'm right next door to McDonald's all the time.
You eat McDonald's, Joe?
I drink their coffee every morning.
Do you?
Yeah, I get a cup of coffee. It's easier, especially this time of year. It's hot. I don't want to. Just want to go get my cup of coffee. But there'll be days where I just can't get away, so I got to eat something.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've noticed recently is Big Mac have a $5. McDonald's has a $5 meal deal
which used to be prevalent like 4 or 5 years ago. You could get them everywhere. Well, they're back. And then the other thing they're doing is like their coupons are like really good right now.
Really? They're trying to drive sales.
Yeah, because for the first time in 13 quarters, which is a little over 3.5 years, I think. Does that sound right?
Well, yeah. The 3 years
Look at you dividing, Joe.
I ran into Mr. Sullivan on the way here. He was my English teacher, but I felt real smart. So I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express 2 nights ago too. But anyway, first time in 3 years, they reported a loss on sales.
Yeah, they had a revenue decline, earnings decline. I think they still, their gross sales was down 1%.
They didn't hit their projection.
Yeah, they didn't hit their projections. Their earnings, they still made a profit, but their earnings was down for the first time in 13 quarters.
And a lot of people will say like, oh, well, minimum wages, but inflation. So what ended up happening was with the increased labor costs that we feel as a small business, they're feeling exponentially larger, right? A lot of states enacted $15 minimum wages. And then even without the minimum wage, and we've talked about this before, there's not that many people that are making minimum wage, especially here in Pennsylvania. Minimum wage is $7.25. I don't have a single client paying anybody $7.25. And I do a lot of payroll. That'd be sweet.
But the market has driven the cost of labor, because whenever this company's paying $15 an hour, they have to attract talent. So they've had to raise. Labor costs are through the roof. Material costs, food costs is also really high. A lot of it for the same reason, because that Big Mac didn't just get touched by the guy that made it. It got touched by,
You got it, a truck brought it.
Yeah, you got it. Exactly. A truck brought it. That was a cow at one point, so that meat had to be produced, so.
Allegedly.
Was it a cow?
So there's a lot of hands that touch that, and a lot of people that had to get paid to do it. So labor costs being really high, food costs being really high, McDonald's has had to raise their prices. And now, that $5 Big Mac meal, not now because they've lowered the prices, it was like $13.
Right. And now you start thinking, like, I could get a medium pizza. Your brain starts to work different when those meals climb in price. Like
all of a sudden, fast food is not the cheapest option anymore.
Right. Which is wild.
Yeah. So sales being down. So there's a couple factors here. Consumer spending is down overall, which is a big sign of economic slowdown,
right?
And recession. And then because now, in order to spark consumer spending, because they need people to buy and they know that their prices have gotten too high, they're doing these coupons. They're doing these $5 meal deals.
Right.
So now that $13 Big Mac meal is now $5. That's an $8 swing. They're not making much money on that. So now their earnings are down.
Right.
So it's a lot of people are going to look at this Big Mac economics. What are you talking about? But this is a sign of the times where prices have gotten really out of hand. So they're making a pivot to probably bring more customers in, but they're making less money on each customer. So now it's affecting their earnings. And it's not just McDonald's.
And it's not just United States. That's why that's a big contingency, is it's global. It's not just Harmerville and Monroeville. It's the world. Big Mac services the world.
Yeah. This is a sign, a solid sign that we are approaching a recession.
Right.
And there's been talk that we've been in one. And
they've been falsifying numbers to kind of keep it afloat.
And they've kind of changed the definition of a recession, and how to calculate a recession. But this is a blatant sign that we are about to approach a severe economic slowdown. And it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be a weird few years here, I think. And this isn't something that, like I said, this isn't COVID. This isn't some weird external factor that made everybody shut down for 8 months. This is
life.
This is because
I don't care what side of the aisle you're on.
This is because rates are too high.
Yeah.
This is because labor costs are too high. Food costs is too high. All these things, all these factors are massively impacting the economy, and we're in for probably a pretty long road here. Probably a year, 2 years.
That's why it was important for me to do what I did in the last 12 months: is buy a new vehicle.
Get it in now.
Yeah, get it in.
Yep.
Pay the payments
and just hang on for dear life. Because I don't think that just me, what am I? I'm the shirt pressing economics major here. But I don't think that if I would have waited, the option would have, like if I'd have signed a 2-year lease, I don't think the option would have been there for me in 2 years. I think money's going to be hard to get.
Yeah.
Commercial money's going to be really hard to get.
Yeah.
And if you live in a world like in a small business owner, maybe you are tight this month, so you put a little more on a credit card, so your debt ratio goes up. Everything gets a little tighter.
And it becomes harder to borrow.
And you're paying a higher rate.
Yeah.
So I think my thing was to sprint to the finish of 2024. I don't care how much I owe. We'll just make the payments and move on.
Yeah. So the feds are talking about rate decreases, but too many rate decreases too quickly could also crash the economy.
Right.
So,
low rates, like even if the rates were back to 3.
Yeah.
It's still going to be hard to get the money.
Right.
You're going to have to really overqualify for the money. Yeah. So what you did earlier, like you talked about the debt snowball method where you kind of shrunk your debt, which would put you in a great position if rates plummet.
Yeah.
But what I did puts me in a very poor position if rates plummet, so it's like both sides of the situation.
Yeah. But we pivot, right?
Yeah. We pivot.
You focus on maintaining your credit, find new revenue sources, you figure out a way, because let's face it, life is a lot easier when you have good credit and you're lendable.
It is. But one of the things that in my business, I look for who doesn't get impacted like by this stuff. And like that's major hospitals, government agencies. You start going after that business because they're going to stabilize no matter what.
Recession-proof businesses, right?
Well, they said the dry cleaners was.
Yeah.
So, we did. We survived through COVID. And my parents were in business in 2008. They survived. It's just your lifestyle. It's a lot more stressful.
Hell yeah.
So, and that's funny because like one of the things that I keep trying to like talk to people in my industry, I'm trying to get it to a point where like if it all goes away, I can still press X amount of pieces, pay the nut, and make a living.
Yeah.
So like I feel like people get out over the skis a little bit in every industry, and they're like, I have this big business. What could go wrong? Well, this is the inevitable. Like if a recession happens and you lose 30% of your business, you can't pay your payroll.
Yep.
And that's the first thing to break in a company. As soon as you don't pay payroll,
it's over.
It's over.
Yep.
You got to pay your people.
Got to pay them.
I don't care if you're stealing money from everywhere else to pay them.
Yep.
Because if they don't show up, even if you have a huge company and you need 12 people every day to run that company and you don't pay them on Friday, you can't run it with 2. I don't care how good you are.
No. Yeah. And I used to think my business was recession proof. And to a point, as far as accumulating clients, it is.
Right.
People always have to file their taxes. People always are going to need an accountant. I offer a service that you need, right? But if the clients are struggling, signing the deal is the easy part. Getting paid for it, whole different avenue.
Yeah.
When they don't have any money because they're not making any profit.
Well, people start looking for alternative options. Even your regular W-2 tax return, people are like, well,
maybe I can just do it myself.
Maybe I can do it myself. I do it online. Maybe I just won't file. I'm in such a bad spot. Maybe if you're like a business, you're like, fuck it. I'm going under either way. I just won't file them this year.
Yeah. I'll figure it out later.
Yeah. I'll call a tax lawyer instead of a tax accountant.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I did give you props for graduating law school last episode. I was listening to a little bit.
Law school.
I know, but I did. I just gave you credit to be my lawyer.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I'm not qualified for that.
Not yet. Pivot, baby.
Let me go back to law school.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to go back to the classroom. Yeah, it'll be free. Somebody will pay for it.
Yeah, I'll get forgiven. So
maybe
fuck not.
Don't go there.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's going to be. We've talked about our like ebbs and flows and the stress and the pressures. I don't think we've seen shit yet.
No.
I think COVID was like, we all say we made it through that. You can make it through anything, but we were all in that together.
We were.
And that like made the business community kind of survive.
But this one,
there's
no PP loans. There's no loans coming to fix this one. This is just buckle up, baby.
But, we've talked about this before, and it's still the fact that if everything came burning down, we would dust ourselves off and we would build it again.
Yeah. I don't know if I would build a dry cleaners again.
But we're going to build ourselves again. Like, we're not going to stop trying.
And we live in a world where people are lazy.
We do.
Like, we're here tonight talking because we weren't lazy and we're not afraid. Like, I'll go build houses.
Everybody wants instant gratification. They want instant results. They want to post a video on TikTok and become a millionaire. Mm-hmm. And whenever they post 6 videos and they don't make $1 million, they're like, fuck it, I quit. We're 40 episodes into a podcast that, we're doing this. This is a labor of love, right?
We're not rich off it.
That'll be the shit that hits the fan first, I think. Is the quick money will go quick first if the economy really tanks.
Yeah. So, will it?
Yeah, I think, because fast money spends fast.
It does, but
what do you mean?
I was talking about like the products and stuff like that, but the people that are like, are you fucked? You can't pay your rent? Come on, $59.95 this month and I'll save you.
Yeah,
those are the people that still make money.
And there's people that are going to be, the people that are making content on these apps that are making money doing it, they're probably going to do better because people are going to be sitting at home scrolling through TikTok.
Yeah,
because they don't have a job.
Goes back to the principal things like the business owners, like the floral shops, the restaurants.
Yeah.
The new car sales will decrease. Yep. People will keep their car longer.
Yep.
But
then there's other avenues that will be better because the guy that owns the mechanic shop is all of a sudden going to be busier.
Right. And the body shop will be busier.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to do at this juncture. If you can in your business, you need to look at like, okay, it's not that bad right now, but what can I do to be prepared for it?
Yeah, and we've talked about this over the episodes too about, everybody's been talking for years. When's the real estate market going to crash? When's the real estate market going to crash? I don't know if or when it's going to crash. But the whole thing is, as a real estate investor and as an accountant that services a lot of real estate investors, what I always tell them is be in a position to buy.
Yeah.
Line up, stack your cash, line up a line of credit.
You see it now with a lot of your clients, I bet. They're like, I want to invest in real estate, but I can't find anything to buy.
Oh, yeah. Well, not me. There's been a lot. I've looked, and right now I'm not looking because I'm fixing up some stuff that I have, but it's been hard to buy property because it was so good for so long that, one, you have all these guys out there that are trying to do it that don't know what they're doing, that are overpaying for shithole houses that they're going to be upside down in. And people are still selling their houses for a lot of money because the market really hasn't come down, even with rates being up, because there's no inventory.
Right. And my main focus of life is like, what do I do in my business to sustain it? And I think that a recession kind of resets the wheel a little bit, and people start to go back to work and they start to dress up a little bit because they know, hey, I could be the next one gone. So they're not going to work in yoga pants and a t-shirt anymore.
Dude, we talked about it earlier. It's pivoting.
Yeah.
It's being ready for that shift in the economy, being prepared to try to figure out a different way. COVID happened and we pivoted. We said, hey, they're offering these PPP loans. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing. There's banks that are holding the money and not doing anything with it. Let's help these people. So we jumped out it and we did a ton of PPP loans. I helped people apply for the economic injury disaster loan. I helped people try to weather that storm.
Right.
So you have to shift. You have to be like, okay, listen, the clients that are just paying for bookkeeping right now are struggling. They don't have the money to pay. Well, I need to help them get the money. So what do we do to get the money? Hey, the government has this program. We can make money on that. We can put money in the client's pockets. That keeps them alive, keeps them paying their fee. It's win-win for everybody.
Right. And this goes back to what we said before, is people would say to you, I don't know how you could own your own business. There's no guarantees. But coming into a recession, we are the ones that'll be okay.
Yeah.
It's multiple revenue sources.
Yeah, I'm fearful for like, if you have to downsize your staff if things get really bad.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what companies will do all over the place.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. And it's funny too on the, like at the beginning of the year, there was a big talk about how country clubs have never been in a better spot because during COVID, people had all this extra money. They joined the clubs. They paid the initiation. They're there. Well, if we go into a recession, guess what hits first? Country clubs go away. Things like that.
Well, before COVID, they were hurting, man.
Oh, yeah.
I was just talking to a guy last night about that. There was a point of time where country clubs are dying off.
You can see it right around us.
I mean, they're going public. I mean, it was not good. Now, COVID happened. Now, all of a sudden, those private clubs are the only ones that can actually serve you, and you can go there. Now, all they're booming again.
Right.
You have to pivot. You have to roll with the punches and figure it out. But You're right. To your point, as a business owner that services, thousands of clients, there's always going to be customers there. So even if you lose one or two, you have many more to fill the gap. When you have one job, you have a day-to-day, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You got one guy, one company putting money in your pocket every month. If they struggle and all of a sudden they have to cut, you're out of a job. And now all of a sudden,
rebuttal.
There's
no
nothing.
Like, well, I'm so good to you. It doesn't matter.
I don't care.
Yeah. And now all of a sudden you're collecting unemployment and, going from a job that's maybe paying $100,000 a year to getting $500 a week from the government. I mean,
good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a shift, man.
Yeah. I think that, it's scary a little bit, I guess. I'd say like it's a little scary to think about, but I personally think I'd embrace it. I think that things are getting out of control. I think that too many people are doing like too much. And I think that for a while there was just too much money available to the wrong people. And I think that now it's time to just pump the brakes as society.
Cause for the inflation.
Yeah. I think that it would be good for everybody to have to work a little bit harder.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to happen though.
Well, cream rises to the top. I said it at the beginning of COVID, and I'll say it now. Cream will rise to the top.
Yeah.
So I think also for my kids, I think it would be good for them to see it's not always
sunshines and rainbows.
Yeah. Although there was a rainbow yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of like it when things are a little uneasy.
Yeah. How are your kids handling you working so much?
Who?
Your kids. Yeah.
No, it's funny. A lot of times they'll be like, I'll go home to get something. And then I'm like, I got to go. And he's like, you just got here.
Yeah.
But I noticed my son, he wants me to sleep with him more often.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting ready to go back to school. So it'll calm that down. But I told him what we're doing this summer will pay dividends for the next 10 summers. So.
Yeah. No, I haven't been home much.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a change.
Yeah. It's weird. It's they know though. They'll know. You'd hope they know.
Exactly. I hope that it's instilling this work ethic in them where they're like, hey, my dad put some time in.
Yeah.
And we have a good life. We don't want for anything. But that's because he worked so hard.
Right. And my biggest thing is my wife gets to stay home.
Right.
So that's been.
Yeah, we have daycare, but I'm rarely home before. It's almost 8:30 and this is an everyday thing now.
Yeah.
I gave him 4 years. Grateful for those 4 years, but right now it's a grind.
But I think
you got to grind, man. You got to do it.
And even if it doesn't pan out, I think the biggest thing they'll learn is they won't be afraid to grind.
Yeah,
right. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, maybe I won't be able to give my kid a brand new car when they turn 16 because they won't need it because GM's going to have rideshare.
Right.
But what a savings that'll be.
They killed that program, by the way. Didn't work.
But my thoughts is the important thing is that they need to know that
values, man.
Yeah, values are everything.
Values.
My dad traveled 48 weeks out of the year growing up. He was all over the country.
Yep.
And I knew that whenever I got something, it's because he worked for it. And I knew that at a young age. So I hope my kids will understand it. I could either be here or your mom could be here, but we both can't be here. And this is the chance we took.
Yeah. My daughter's 6 and she's I think she's struggling a little bit. I've been putting a lot of extra time in and working a lot. She's made some comments about like she wants us both to be here. She wants to have us both here for a night, you know. And it's tough, but you try to explain and become a teachable moment where like, listen, like mom and I are a team, and sometimes she's here, sometimes I'm here, sometimes we're both here, sometimes the rest of the team, grandma and pap, and you know the family has to step in and they have to help too, because we both have to do other things. And I think she got it, but yeah, it's tough on them, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is we're all pretty close to like being able to be there a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like you got the move going on, you're trying to establish yourself. I got my move going on. And our goal is to work 410s moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, and that gives me an extra day. But one thing I did this year is August 22nd will be the first day of school. And I've already let everybody that knows, like everybody at work knows, like I'm not coming in that morning. And that'll be the first time since like the last 3 years I would go to work, I'd come home, rush to get to the bus. You know, I'm staying home that day. So it'll be good. It's just, they're kind of like you're an adult at that age too, because they don't know as much, but you do have to reward them along the way. Like Sunday, they picked me up from the shop and we went and got ice cream, and like that was special to them. So that's a reward to them. Like they did have both of us there, but I don't think that the option for me to just like take a 9 to 5 and like pick them up and drive them here, I don't think that works for that. Like we're too far into this. I don't know. Maybe they'll tell me I'm an asshole when I'm 18 and never talk to me again, but I feel like I'm doing right by them. You know what I mean?
We're doing everything we can. You know, I don't want, I don't know. I'm trying to provide a life for my kids that, you know,
you didn't have,
that I didn't have.
Right.
Yeah. Not because my parents didn't work their asses off, but they just, you know, it was different then.
Right.
And I'm trying to provide that life for them, and it takes sacrifice, and you just try to instill in them that the reason why we're able to have the life that we have and travel and have nice things and is because of all the time that it takes. And this is hard work and it's stressful. And my biggest thing, and one thing I work really hard to avoid, is taking that stress home.
Yeah. Hang the little man on the tree, leave him outside, pick him up.
Yeah.
But one of my biggest fears is like the school district that we're in, and the people that are going to be around my kids, they might say like to me one day, like, well, their dad's always there.
Yeah.
It's like, well, their dad has a Princeton degree.
Yeah. Well, I got to work for mine.
Yeah. Your dad was digging ditches 4 years before you were born. Like, you know, so.
Yeah.
But kids are smart and they're strong and they're smarter now than we were, you know, so.
Well, they have access to unlimited information, which is also fucking terrifying.
My son was playing
that Princeton degree. It doesn't matter as much as it used to.
No, it doesn't. The ROI on a college degree is down big time.
Yeah, my son was playing like Wordle the other day. Like, and he was like getting shit. And I'm like, ton nut. He's like, Dad, I already got those ones. I'm like, all right, well, your dad can't spell either, so fuck off. He's 5. Oh, so.
Alrighty.
But that's what we do this for, to get this out there. You know, this is now the kids, when they get older and they want to know why, maybe they just go back into the archives of YouTube and be like,
yeah,
man, Dad loved his Icy Light. So,
no.
Well, week 40 in the books.
Yeah.
40
episodes. Remember when we were like, let's get to 12?
Yeah, we were real pumped.
Yeah, I think we came in on like a Sunday, did 2 to get to 12.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, how times have changed. Now we're at 40.
Machine.
And we have a pretty substantial amount of people listening, and it's pretty awesome.
And a new studio.
And a new studio coming that's going to be badass.
Can we say titties on the air? Because we've already said nipples.
Say whatever we want, bud. What are they going to do? Cancel us? I don't think so.
We don't have any sponsors to drop us yet.
No, not really. But if you'd like to be one,
take this.
Reach out.
Yeah. And we're shooting. We got some guests coming up, guys. So you won't have to hear us cry about our tough lives anymore.
We're still going to do it.
Yeah. We'll just have someone to validate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, episode 40.
in the
Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Between Two Bridges, a business-to-business podcast. Find and follow us on your preferred podcast streaming platform. Like and subscribe, and leave us a rating and review. You can join us socially on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Yes, we still call it Twitter. You can email the show at info@betweentwobridgespodcast.com. Until next time, make it till you rake it.